I'd like to bring the April 23rd Board of Selectmen meeting to order. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I welcome the Budget Committee and the Police Facilities Advisory Committee to our Selectmen's meeting tonight. Thank you all for being here. We've asked you all here so that we can discuss the recently discovered structural issues at the Public Works main garage. In case you haven't already heard, the Selectmen have made the decision at our last meeting, to vacate the building. Steps are being taken to also demolish the building. The decision to demolish the building instead of renovating it came after hearing from Public Works Director Sam Clark. Sam spoke with multiple structural engineers and the fire chief, and decided that, as well as Frank Enzalone, who's inspected the building, as part of the inventory for the building asset management plan that we are working on creating. Given the type of construction of the building, the age of the building, and the value of the building, it does not make sense to invest any money into it to save it. Temporary office space has been delivered to the site, so Public Works staff have a place to work and have lunch and use the facilities. We expect that they will probably be in those temporary spaces for at least 2 years. We hope to have a plan to bring to the Budget Committee during the upcoming budget process so that funds can be requested at town meeting of 2026. Tonight, the Selectmen would like to hear from all of you on whether you feel that the board should continue to support Article 3, the purchasing of the Garvey site, at the town meeting on May 14th, in light of the needs of the Public Works Department. The Public Works Department is sort of the backbone of all of the town operations. Without a Public Works Department that's running smoothly, we could be all left out in the cold, literally and figuratively. As you all know, we strongly support the need for a new police station, and we continue to believe that the Garvey site is a viable site to meet the needs of the police department for many years. We feel that the work of the Police Facilities Advisory Committee was invaluable in getting us further along in this process than we have ever been. And we feel that those efforts will not be wasted no matter how we proceed. However, we're mindful that the support of the Garvey site came before we knew about this issue at the Public Works Garage. My desire would be to take on both projects at once, but I want to be respectful of the taxpayers, and that might be too much to ask of them at this point. I'm asking for feedback from both of the committees. The question we would like your assistance on is this: should we continue to support the purchase of the Garvey site when the town meeting is reconvened? And knowing that we're going to be asking the taxpayers for money in town meeting 2026 for the highway department. So I'm going to start with Ashley Siebold, chair of the Police Facilities Advisory Committee, and then I'm going to toss it over to Lou Blata, the vice chair of the Budget Committee, and then I'll ask various board members if they'd like to give their feedback as well. And then I also want to urge some Budget Committee members and Police Facility Advisor who weren't able to make this last-minute meeting tonight to please watch the video, and if you have any comments that you want to send to us after watching that video, please send them along to us, and then if we have time, we will open it up for public comments. So I'm going to start with you, Ashley.
Thank you, and I'm going to stand just because the sun is in my eyes where I'm sitting. Ashley Siebold, resident, and as BB said, chair of the Police Facilities Advisory Committee. I'm just going to speak on behalf of myself, not on behalf of the entire committee. I think everybody has some opinions, and I want to make sure that they have an opportunity to express those. My personal belief is, knowing that we have warrant Article 3 for almost $1 million on the table and this big purple elephant sort of on the side here, I'm struggling to support moving forward with warrant Article 3, knowing that we've heard quite a lot from our taxpayers and residents here that they really want to understand a long-term plan for our expenditures in the town. I think we owe it to you guys to do that, and this sort of supports that hey, we likely have other things coming down the pike. So my personal belief is that we not support warrant Article 3 at town meeting, but again, that's just my personal belief. Susan Warren, who is on the committee, is not able to be here tonight. She did email both Kim and I her thoughts. She is also in agreement that we should not support warrant Article 3. She did raise the question on whether the two departments could potentially locate down together on the same property on South Pleasant Street. I think there's been some other questions from both committee members and taxpayers on whether that could be an option or not, and it sounds like it's something that could be explored. The other thing that's weighing on me is if warrant Article 3 were to pass and Sam finds a solution, that will likely be a warrant article on next year's town meeting ballot as well, and I really don't love the idea of having two departments almost pitted against each other on the town ballot. So those are my thoughts. I did get a chance to connect with Chris Lorio, who's the chair of the budget committee yesterday, as he was boarding a plane to go overseas. He also believes that we should not support warrant Article 3, and he also expressed the desire for some sort of financial view, several-year view of finances. So I think, we've heard that quite a bit from our citizens. I think the select board is hearing that, and there's more conversation within the committees to support that idea as well. So again, I can only speak for myself. I'll hand it over to Budget Committee, Lou or Lindsay. Okay.
Hi. Good evening. I'm Lou Bone. I'm chairing the meeting in the absence of Chris Lorio as vice chair. At this time, I will let if any of the budget committee members wish to speak. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Did you want to go first?
No, I will go last.
We're going to start with the fat and the fire, y'all. I just want what is best for the town and for the people, and I'm so sick of some of this stuff, and I just want to see something done. And I can tell you right now, they're not making more land, and we have a need for it regardless. And also, we are in this position because we have let buildings basically condemn themselves upon our employees, and we got to do this better. So my position on Article 3 is what I just said. If it's not viable for the town on a tax-based reason, fine. But if we were to look at, say, 3 million on the overall, which I know it just keeps adding and adding and adding, it's only going to be more, in 3 years and 5 years. And it's only going to be another catastrophic response, such as the highway department for the police station, if we just keep doing nothing, because our entire, and with all due respect to the Police Facilities Commission, we've got our entire, cognitive issues. What's the dispatch? Going through chemo, sorry. Our dispatch system is downstairs in the boiler room, the mainframe of communication. And if that goes out, it's catastrophic. And again, this keeps happening. We have a 7-year plan for 1.5 miles of sidewalks. There's a point where being conservative is irresponsible. It's inappropriate, and it's a disservice to our taxpayers here in town. And I do not mean that in any slight, disrespect at all. Also, we have brought up in 2018 ways to purchase land without a designation for it, and it was voted Article 3 down in 2018. And then in 2024, an article was proposed to buy another piece of property without the same intent, or without a sale intent, and the article got dismissed because it was not as transparent as probably needed to be. I'm saying we have to, there's a cost of doing business, guys, and it's costing us more and more and more, and I would vote yes on Article 3. And also, whatever immediately needs to happen for the highway department. Thank you. Oh, and I'm up for re-election, and I apologize if this goes against, anybody else's, and don't vote for me. Okay? Thank you.
Any other members of the Budget Committee would like to make a statement?
guess I'll jump right in here. My name is Karen Epstein, and I think this is a really important time that we address this and take a pause on moving forward with Article 3, and I would not support Article 3 at town meeting. I think there's a lot of uncertainty in regards, we have this asset management report that is pending. I know it's not going to be, per the discussion at last week Board of Selectmen's meeting, it's not going to be coming out within the next few weeks, but it's coming out, I guess, in the near enough future that it should have important information for us to have. I really favor a comprehensive approach to balancing out the needs of all the departments. And I think this surprise with regard to the Department of Public Works building speaks to the fact that there may be more unknowns that we don't know what the unknowns are right now, right? And this report will be really key to getting a sense of that. So just based on that very near-term information that should allow us to be more informed, I appreciate the opportunity to kind of rethink things as a group as it goes into town meeting, and I would not support moving Article 3 forward as a yes. So thank you. I may have some more commentary to follow, but this is just my initial thoughts on the topic. Thank you.
Any other members? Okay. Yeah, one thing that we desperately need in this town is a comprehensive strategic plan. And what's happening today is just one instance of the fact that we do not have a plan to replace or to look at all our facilities in a cogent manner. And I think we absolutely need it, and I think the selectmen know my views on that. And the police station issue is going to be, it has been with us for the last 15, 20 years. It's going to remain with us for the next 15 or 20 years if we don't do something about it. Meanwhile, we have the Public Works Department that is going to have a building that, if we don't replace it, it's going to come down. So the issues are there. We're going to have to devote time and money to them, and I do believe that it is also incumbent on us to look at every single building in this town, every single public building, including the library, and look at a lifespan with regards to roof, with regards to doors, with regards to lock, security, and come up with a particular plan that will be integrated into a strategic plan for the town. Now, as far as Article 3 and having a police department, my personal opinion is if these issues are not going to go away. If we don't tackle them, they're not going to go away. However, we have to be cognizant and we have to be respectful of the amount of money and the tax burden that will create upon our citizens, including, we all live in London. So I will stop. Go ahead, Lindsay.
I forgot that this year's Article 3 has a stated intent for purposes, so I vote no then. No, I just would like to be able to get some land that we can buy in the, regular, commercial or like real estate market rather than go through 47, routes of the process, which is not how it works for the property seller itself too.
Lindsay, to that point, I do think it's worth noting that because Warrant Article 3 does have purpose with distinct guidelines in there, somebody could propose an amendment to Warrant Article 3 to bring it down to just purchasing the land if folks feel strongly that the town purchasing land is important. So that is an option.
I propose that we study it as a committee, and when it goes before the Budget Committee, to look at it and come up with a consensus among the Budget Committee members. I'm sorry? On both.
What's your position, though, on Article 3 for in 3 weeks?
At this time, I will, because of the, the vote of Ashley, I would probably say no, given the fact that, the Police Facilities Committee has actually stated no. But again, it's, the issue is going to have to be tackled.
Yeah, Jeff Hollinger. Based on the recent findings, I can't support Article 3, but what I would like us to do is actually look at possibly siting the police station on the same property where you have one larger building that is able to serve both purposes. The savings would be the land. There would be, I was down there looking at it today. There's a fair amount of space, but I do think it's something that at least warrants looking at and seeing if the police department could be sited there, and then along with that, space for the highway department. But right now, honestly, I don't think warrant 3 would pass based on this new information.
Sorry, Concord red means off. Phil Sherman, a resident of New London. I find myself in direct alignment with Mr. Boda for the first time. And better than that, significant steps were taken in that direction in the late 2018, 19, and into 2020. BB and Janet and I had an offline conversation a couple of meetings ago. Mr. Anderson, you were tied up talking with someone else, where I said that this is not newly discovered issues at DPW. This was made aware to the Building and Facilities Committee by Bob Harrington, who pointed it out to us. And furthermore, that report, which I think you looked at, Janet, the scope of that report at that time was to respond to the stated needs from the departments. We were not in a position to do a building survey, but that report recommended the building survey, which ultimately was completed some 7 weeks ago. So it took 4 or 5 years to get that thing going. I'm against Article 3, but I was against Article 3 before this all came up. Honestly, this town needs a facilities committee. That committee that was disbanded with a change in selectmen had expertise, probably not to do the detailed building surveys. That takes a Frank Anzalone and similar people. I'm a licensed engineer. It's not my focus. So, but I do think that the committee provided the roadmap precisely to where Mr. Boda thinks we ought to go. And that is to get all of this building stuff on the table. There are other big needs buried in that 7-week-old report that have not come to the surface yet. And when you add it all together, there's a fair amount of money tied up, even with a bunch of little things. So I really think that, as Karen Epstein said, taking a breather and figuring out how this town ought to deal with all of these building issues so that they're understood by people who have the qualifications to look at them is very warranted, and we ought to just put a hold on everything in 3 weeks. Excuse me, and I will forward my thoughts on the DPW building offline. I know that's not the main purpose of this meeting. But.
Bruce Parsons, allow me to be the dissenter of the statements that are going on. I believe strongly that we should go ahead with Article 3 for a number of reasons. If we don't, we're putting off Article 3, we're putting off the study of more architectural work, more engineering, more analysis of Garvey, if it becomes Garvey, that we purchase. We're putting that off for probably 5 years. And what we have now as a $10.8 million budget is then going to be a $15 million budget. I just don't think it's fair. I mean, you talk about the needs of this town and what we don't know yet, but what we do know is the police department is in desperate need of a new facility. It's not fair to them, it's not fair to the townspeople to not move ahead with this. We're going to know that Sam is going to come next year to town meeting with a proposal, plans, a cost to build a new highway building. It's going to be voted on. Hopefully it goes forward. It's going to be another year or two before that's done. And then we're going to be able to start talking about a police department again. What we're talking about by letting this Article 3 get passed is the purchase of the Garvey property, but in my mind, more importantly, doing more studies to get a plan created to decide what it's going to cost, what it's going to take, what it's going to look like. And Article 3 is going to cost a taxpayer who has a $500,000 house $19 in their annual tax for the first year, and it will go down from there until it's paid off. We're not talking about building a police building yet. We're talking about getting our ducks in a row and understanding, just like Sam is doing now. So I strongly support Article 3.
I'll hop on that bandwagon and strongly support Article 3 for the same reasons. And I agree with you, Lou, that we have to create this strategic plan, and we have to be mindful of that. But we have these two buildings that are in shambles. The police station is not far behind the DPW. So are we going to wait till that happens, and then we have two buildings that have to be vacated?
Annie Beck, Police Facilities Committee. Is there a possibility of amending the warrant article to include doing some investigation into having the police station down on Pleasant Street? Because that, I would think, would be, just keep this moving forward. You know, we have the momentum. We've all worked so hard this past year. I understand wanting to pause, but I also really feel like we need to move forward. We're in this position because the can was kicked down the road, and we just need to stop the cycle. So if there's a possibility of that we can keep something open for Sam's facility and police together, that would be great.
Andy, you're asking if we can amend Article 3 to be able to use that for investigation of another site. We can't do that. We can't change the purpose. Go ahead.
Yeah, the warrant, the language and the purpose of the warrant can't be changed, but I do wonder, and I feel like we've loosely talked about this with Sam, in, you know, whomever the town contracts to do the site planning for a new building for DPW, can we lump the police department into that site planning?
Yeah.
So that there is an avenue forward for that.
Either committee.
You know, the idea of co-locating, you know, DPW and the police department is actually, it merits consideration. We have the land, we have the, you know, it's perfectly located. It may be a sane argument for having both facilities in one place. Just recently, a couple of years ago, the FEMA actually considers now the public works as first responders. So it would be a good first responder, you know, partial first responder, because obviously the firehouse is here, but it would certainly not be mutually exclusive. So.
Okay.
Is that a possibility? How can we make that a possibility? Does it require a new, you know, we'll have to defer to the selectmen.
it's a possibility to investigate that option, absolutely. Go ahead, Lindsay.
One, I just humbly request that this evening's meeting be, solutions-based for the immediate and not necessarily procedural, because we have, obviously discussed ad nauseum what we think and how things should be done, but we're not doing anything. So that is where, again, I just want to do what the taxpayers want. So I think we need land. So I would say make the amendment to purchase the land, but however that works. But it's been done multiple times. I've got all the town meeting notes, so I think it can be done.
Okay. I want to open it up for comments from the public. I want to ask if we can keep the public comments to a minimum. 2 to 3 minutes would be wonderful. So I'm going to go ahead and start if you all want to line up at the microphone. And maybe we'll do this maybe I'll set, what do you all think? If we set like well, let's start and see how we go.
My name is Bob Lyon. I'm a resident. First, I really appreciate the out-of-the-box thinking that I'm hearing tonight. This idea of maybe a co-localization, possibly, is the first I've heard of it. I think there's a lot of merit in at least studying that, so I'm really glad to hear this. We already own the land. I'm hearing there's water and sewer already there, and yes, it would be delayed a little bit, I'm guessing, as opposed to passing something right now, but I'm not sure that working in haste is the best way to go. So we can make the argument, we've been doing this year after year, it's time to go, it's time to go, it's time to go. Well, we just got this building that might fall down. Stuff happens. So this idea of working in haste, I don't abide by that. So I agree with Karen and others, I think taking a pause and really looking at that possibility of co-localization. Again, I'm hearing it for the first time tonight. Maybe there's nothing to it, but I think it should be looked at. So yeah, thanks for the out-of-the-box thinking. In terms of the vote, I think there's a chance if we go ahead with the vote, it could pass. I think there's a better chance that it could fail. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, evening. Dorothy Hitchmoth, New London. So
Speak a little closer to the mic.
I sure can. Is that good? You hear me?
Much better.
Okay, good. Let me get this a little higher. So I have read through all the hundreds of pages of work that the police committee has presented, looked at all of the select board meetings and listened to most of the videos. And I don't think that we would be in this difficult position with relative support or lack of support from the community if there was a long-term strategic plan that allowed taxpayers to understand what their long-term, and not long-term, just a little bit into the future costs would be. So my question to the select board is, what are your plans for moving forward to create that plan? I think if you share those thoughts, you're going to gain more support. I'm kind of begging to see a long-term plan. I don't think that exists, and I agree with Mr. Botta wholeheartedly that meeting after meeting after meeting of talking about a long-term plan and for there not to be one in place does a disservice to our fire department, our police department, and the public works department. As a member of the Medical Reserve Corps here in New Hampshire, this is not good if we can't have these services locally. I think everybody agrees on that. I will also share with everybody behind me that I did not understand, and I hope this helps people make a decision, that Article 3 will cost the taxpayer approximately $18 per year in the short term to just move forward to take a look to see if it's possible to move forward with that plan. I'm generally fiscally conservative. Let me restate that. I'm very fiscally conservative. And even as a fiscal conservative, I think that's a reasonable move forward, despite there not being support here tonight. But I think and I hope that as a town, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. So I would hope that we could move forward with the good work of the police committee, spend a tiny little bit of money to uncover whether or not that's a good plan, but charge the select board with coming up with a long-term strategic plan that really shows what our capital expenses will be so that the budget committee can do their work and so that the other committees can do their work. We really need this, and I think that's really what everybody is asking for. So with that clarity, I think you'll get the support, and the police and the fire and everybody else will get the support that they need. So I'll leave it at that.
My name is Bill Hickey. I live here in New London. I understand the responsibility, the stress, unknowns always exist, but one thing I think we know is this town has to see investment in the facilities. I've been hearing about it for many, many, many years, and we can kick the can down the road, and that makes us feel safe currently because, God forbid, we make a decision and then 5 years down the road, someone has some other idea. It's like, gee, had we done this 5 years ago? If we keep doing that, we'll just keep doing nothing. If we look down the road, 50 years down the road, this is all going to be redone anyway because it's not going to be adequate because we don't know what we're going to need in 50 years. But I do know that eventually when I leave New London, I hope that I can feel responsible that I left it better than I found it. If we do nothing, that's not going to be the case.
Go ahead.
Well, since Dorothy moved this up, I'll take advantage of this opportunity to move it further. Tom Forster, I'm a resident in New London. Maybe a couple of comments. I just wanted to echo what Bruce said, the point that he made, which is voting for Article 3 doesn't commit us to building a new police station. More importantly, though, it helps us get the information we need so we can make an informed decision. As Sam does his work during the next year, so when we'll know more about what has to happen there, we will be able to make a better decision. I've lived here about 2.5 years now. I've heard the same thing at the annual meetings. We don't have enough information. We don't have enough information. So my point is that those of you who are opposed to Article 3, think about the fact that it'll enable us to get the information we need. We have the option to return the property. So we have lots of options, but we need information, we need data, because otherwise we're going to be in another meeting where people say, nah, they're conservative, we don't know enough, let's kick this can down the road. Sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
Rich Epstein. You have to also look at the other side of the coin when they talk about if you reject Article 3. That doesn't eliminate that property. It gives us a so much better opportunity to actually do what was promised at the beginning, to get a more comprehensive analysis of all the properties that could potentially work out. And now, I think that's a very good option to consider where the facilities down on South Pleasant would be. We have so many things pending. We're going to learn more about water soon. We're going to hopefully learn more about the other facilities that might need work. All we have to do is do a better analysis that will give people confidence this time that it's the right decision. Just going with Article 3 is eliminating information, which is what people are frustrated with when they see all these warrant articles get voted on. Thank you.
Vahan Sarkeesian. I've been in this town, our own property here, for about 47 years, and at times I'm still considered a flatlander. But still, probably been here longer than you. But anyway, I've been here full time, about 17 years. But in that 45 years, I'm going to tell a little story. I used to have coffee over at McKenna's with Harold Buca, with Jim Moreland, Bob Blow, and we were talking about the fire station at the time. I remember Bob Blow saying, we should combine a fire station with the police station, make a really nice complex if we have to buy a building, not the funeral home, but on the other side, we'd really have a nice setup. Well, it never happened. But this police station, and I'm not against a police station, I want you to know that. What I don't like, and I've been in the construction business my whole life, I don't like the site. It does not belong in a residential district, which it is. It does not belong in an area that has a lot of wetlands, which it has. And we have to construct bridges and do all kinds of groundwork. And on top of everything else, unless I go to selectmen's meetings, but I haven't seen the agreement, exactly what's in the agreement between the town and the Harveys. I mean, I hear bits and pieces from various people, and I really don't know what really is the truth, because there's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of extraneous thoughts. That's not the way to run things. I mean, this issue basically has been on the books for 8 years, maybe 9 years, and nothing's been done yet other than talk, talk, talk. This is not the way to run a town. There's some good ideas that have come up tonight, and I commend those individuals who come forward with that. But Seamans Road is not the spot. Now, another thing I've heard, maybe it's a rumor, the thought between the federal government and the state is to have a regional police station, because having it down on Seamans Road, we can take care of Andover, we can take care of Wilmot, we can take care of Elkins. I mean, what the hell is going on here? Why don't we have a piece of land where the highway department is? I drove around the building today, and I know it looked pretty good, but I didn't go inside because it's all locked up. And if it has to come down, I'll take the word that the engineers that have looked at it and the structural people say it's got to come down. Well, let's take it down. But we've got land there with water, with sewer, with electricity, with parking. So, and it doesn't take forever to put a plan together on a piece of property that we already own. And it's not going to cost us any more money to buy the land. That's all I have to say right now. I might have more to say as the night continues.
Nice segue, John. In regards to Seamans, as opposed to 0 Newport Road, which was the other piece of land that the committee was looking the most at, Seamans has been determined there are no wetland issues. There are no bridges that need to be built. It's a driveway, a road in, and developed land. If there's a downside to that piece of land, it's got some slope to it. That can be resolved in the design of the building. What we don't know about that land is there ledge present? And that's something that could be pretty quickly found out once we had an agreement. In regards to the DPW land, it's a 4-acre lot. It has a large Eversource easement running diagonally through it. That's going to be limiting. Don't know if they're going to give us permission to build under that easement or not. There's an adjacent 4-acre lot owned by the town. It's very much wetlands. So if we take the one 4-acre lot and we look at what buildings are going to be there, I think it's going to be a challenge to create. And I'm not sure that, and Chief, please jump in here. Ken and Sam, can we do one building that combines both functions, or would they need to be 2 separate facilities. We don't know that. That has to be determined.
Okay, I don't know everything about the DPW, but when I went down there today, the first building that's on your left-hand side where the office was, and there's 3 or 4 garage doors on it. But then I drove around, there's a huge building further back that is for our equipment. If that's not big enough, we could put an addition on that one, possibly. But I think the property is perfect for a situation that we're in without spending money. And as far as the bridge and the wetlands and everything, I got that information from town people. I didn't make it up myself. I've driven down Seamans Road 100 times and just looking at the land. I know as a developer, we would never buy a piece of land like that. But no offense to the Garveys or with the fact that they're trying to sell it, but I see problems on that site, other than the fact that it's in a residential area and it doesn't belong there.
I just want to make one thing clear, Vahan, is that the Garveys aren't trying to sell it. Actually, we approached them and asked them if they might be interested in selling it to us because it was identified as a possible site, and they said they would be willing to sell it. The agreement is public knowledge. Kim has a copy of it if you'd like to see it. They gave us basically a money-back guarantee. If the property wasn't going to be able to utilize, they were going to buy it back at the same price. So the Garveys are aware that all of this is going on. I had a conversation with John and Cotton last week. They're willing to go with whatever we decide to do, whatever the taxpayers decide to do. So I just want to make that clear.
Okay, well, I do understand that. But what I don't understand is I would like to know what the first committee that looked at that property was against that location.
It wasn't looked
Completely
at.
against it. The first committee, not this committee.
Correct, we've already addressed this. It wasn't looked at. Somebody's going to need to remind me, it was not formally looked at because the Garveys at that time were not interested in entertaining a conversation. I might have that a little wrong, but the first committee didn't formally look at that property.
Is that a yes?
I think the other thing to note is, to my knowledge, there hasn't been any conversation around a regional police station to support. Certainly not in our committee. There haven't been discussions about that.
Thank you. Could I clarify something, Phoebe? With regard to my understanding, with regard to the option to buy the property back, that's not a guarantee. It is they have the option to buy the property back, but there's no guarantee that it would be bought back. So I just want to make that clear to the audience. Thank you.
Okay.
At the same price.
Any other comments from John?
I'm John Ellis, resident. I had written an article a couple months ago on the total expenses of 8 of our projects that we are looking at in New London. Obviously, the water precinct is a major issue. And then we haven't seen the work that Peter Nichols has done, great work on paths forward. That is, where are we headed in New London as far as expanding? And that final report has not been completed yet, and I think we need to take pause in this Article 3 so that we not only look at where we're going in the future, but also in the initial report that Peter had commissioned. As I remember, there's about 37% of the financial stress on the residents currently that are living on, hopefully, continuing Social Security, pensions, and their other income that they survive on month to month. And I think we need to consider that there are, as I look at percentages, I try to divide it, and 37% is about 4, rounding it up, I know, for those that are exact. 4 out of every 10 people at Hannaford's or Market Basket are looking in their purse to get through the month. And so I think when Lou brought up a strategic plan, and I think Charlie brought this up at a budget meeting also, and Karen, that the budget committee as I understand it, is presently going to consider that as a way moving forward, a strategic plan of what we can expect. So the 50 million that I wrote in the article that I wrote, maybe it'll be more. I was unaware of the DPW, but when you consider that we have the land, the sewer, and the water in one location, and I believe there's space back in the big buildings that Sam we could build another building back in there for him with his approval, but I would hope that would be at least a consideration. And it's actually an ideal position and a place for the police to be housed also, with ease access for a large portion of the population. So I would ask you to consider to put a pause on Article 3 so that we can finish the strategic plan that the Budget Committee has concluded at the end of their commission, and then Peter Nichols and the work he's doing, so that we can get an overall picture of where we're headed. And I think it would be a great benefit to all of us if we could do that. Thank you.
All right, close it up, Lindsay, and then, go ahead. No, go ahead.
That's actually what I wanted to say.
Okay.
I do apologize, and I'm so glad that everybody's here. I have a commitment. My daughter's engineering fair, so I do have to go. But on that note, I also wanted to thank the committees, past and future and present, past, all the work that you guys have done. It does mean something, and it is important, and that's why, that's part of my frustration, is that at some point, we've got to take the recommendations from our department heads, who are, the experts in their field, and from all of these committees, and then put it upon the Budget Committee and the Board of Selectmen to vote. That is our charge. And if we get it wrong, don't vote for us. But at some point, we've got to just do something, because we can sit here and listen to opinions on who drove by it last week and what they think or not. At some point, we have to respect everyone's time as well. And I appreciate you all. Thanks.
Thanks, Lindsay. All right, I'm going to. Can I make one more comment? Yep. Go ahead, quickly.
Bob Lyon again. I think since I'm hearing discrepant information about that site where DPW is, Eversource is going through it, part of it's wetland, then I'm hearing, no, it looks like a really good site. That to me says it needs to be studied. We can't just go by flying off the handle with one opinion. And maybe you're right, I don't know. But to me, it's just saying, we've got a chance here. Make a pause, look at it, and then quickly reject it if it's no good. Thank you.
I guess my opinion on this is that we should pass over Article 3. I don't think now is the time to buy land and study it on Seamans Road. I think we need to have a study of the Public Works site, because we own it. It has water and sewer, notwithstanding the easement to public service. I think it's possible that we could be able to locate the police department there as well. So since building a new building at Public Works and the cost it's going to take just to keep the staff there, the trailers are going to cost us $2,200 a month. And if we have the study to figure out where the building should go, and if we could do the police down there, it's going to be a significant amount of money that we will have to ask the taxpayers for in 2026. So my opinion at this time, notwithstanding what Bruce said, and I agree with him, there are many reasons to buy the Garvey property, I think we should pass over Article 3.
Janice, I want to commend you for coming to that conclusion. I know it's probably been very difficult for you to say that, but I commend you. But now, I was in another situation where I was a director of a company, and they were renting trailers, not at $2,200. I saw the trailer down there. Why don't we buy one? Because in the long run, it'll be cheaper for the town, we'll be ahead of the game, and we'll own the trailer. No one listened to me before, and I was right. And then they came to me after the fact and said, gee, we should have bought a couple of them, we would have owned them. But it didn't happen. Why don't we do that now? $2,200? I can tell you where you can buy some nice trailers for a lot less.
Janet or BB or Richard question. Have the Garveys been approached about this being put on ice, and what have they indicated about it in the future years? And please discuss that.
Yes, I had that conversation with them last week. That property's not going anywhere. So if in a year, after we do studies at the Highway Department and the Police Facilities Advisory Committee, that I hope stays together, continues their conversations, and we wind up back at the Garvey site being the best possible option in town, they're not going anywhere, and they would still be willing to sell us the piece of property.
Say, I've got a question. Is there any way we could do a study on that piece of property this year? If we kick this down the road and it doesn't get voted on until next year, we're pushing everything that much further. If the study comes out and it says it's a good piece, great, good piece of land for it, that's great. If it's a bad piece, okay, then at least we know that. But we're gaining a year, and that's actually would keep us on pace with where we would be if we bought the Garvey property. We have to move forward. It's very easy to say no, even though I don't think we should go ahead with this. But we have to do something, and I think somehow the town needs to figure out how can we get the money to get the study done on that piece of property.
I think the only way we can do that is by passing Article 3. And that's why I said at the beginning, I wish we could run these concurrently together at the same time. It's a lot to ask of the taxpayers. I agree with you, Jeff, we can keep this, I don't want to wait another year either, but I think the only way we could do that, and correct me if I'm wrong, anybody here, is if Article 3 passes.
Allow me. My question to you three, is it worth asking the Garveys if we could bring in, Sam, if we could bring in a small excavator to go in and, without taking down trees, scoot around a little bit, do some ledge probe digs, restore the ground, and, because to me, that's the piece of information we're missing as to how buildable it is. Are we going to hit ledge? And then with that knowledge, it's going to tell us much better what our site work costs are going to be going forward.
We can ask.
Yeah, if we could do that, it would be a huge step forward because we could simultaneously investigate the property on Pleasant Street and be in a much better position to play the hand of cards we're dealt.
I also think there have been some conversations with some citizens around potential fundraising for this project, and I wonder if we might be able to do some fundraising to get that work done depending on what the cost is, if there isn't money in our budget, knowing that we've got quite a bit going to the two temporary trailers for DPW. But I wonder if we could explore that option as well.
I would just say this. First of all,
Just add something real quick.
Certainly.
My name is Joe Cupid, and regarding private donations, I just want everybody to know that private donations funded over about, Lincoln, tell me if I got the right number, about $40,000 of the cost of presenting the aluminum walkway that was done on private donations. So there is people out there who have money who would donate private funds to the town to be used only for a very specific purpose.
Yeah, I would just say, first of all, you know, again, to echo a little bit of what Lindsay said, I would thank all of the folks who have worked on the police facilities group, the commission, in terms of all of your efforts, et cetera. It is not taken lightly what you folks have done, and we are grateful for that. That being said, at this time, it seems to me like if we were to ask the folks of New London to pass a warrant article, and I understand that in the scheme of things, it is a relatively modest sum of money overall, but what we're asking them to do is to give us the green light to potentially buy the Garvey Cleveland property and to do those, you know, the various kinds of tests, et cetera, that we want to do in the plans. With what we've discovered about the Public Works building and that site, and the fact that there are a lot of questions about whether or not we could potentially utilize that site to effectively kill two birds with one stone, I do think that we at this time should not be supporting Article 3. And instead, what we can do is we can, and we're going to have to get a little bit creative with our budget, I think, in terms of finding funds to both explore not just DPW, but also, as Bruce has suggested, the necessary things about some of the questions that remain unresolved about the Seamans property. I'm sorry, the Seamans Road property. And for that reason, it seems to me like we can, you know, instead of asking the townsfolk to approve the $950,000 and then effectively trust the three of us to make the decision as to whether or not we're going to go forward or not, which is what would happen, I think that's a lot to ask of folks at this moment. And so instead, it would seem to me like it's appropriate. But to be clear, though, for those folks who are concerned that we are again kicking the can down the road, I think that there is a lot to be said for the fact that this has been studied ad nauseum. And so I think we're going to be looking to move quickly in terms of making quick decisions about, is the Public Works Department site a possibility or not? I can tell you, just to give you a quick example, one of the concerns that has been raised is the fact that a tower there would have to be considerably taller than the tower that we currently have next to Bucher. Very much taller, in fact, because there's a significant drop in the elevation there. That being said, I think we can look into siting the tower at a different location and then connecting to it either via a landline or something else and seeing, is that a possibility or is that a deal killer? But at this time, because of what we've discovered with the Public Works site, both in terms of the need for that building to come down and the potential that it may open up other possibilities in terms of siting both police and Public Works on that land. For that reason, I don't think we should support it going forward.
Okay, well, you've heard from two of us. Are we wanting to take a vote on this tonight, or do we want to give some more time for some committee members that weren't here tonight to give us some feedback, or vote on it? Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Dot Dogan, living in London. Questions, are we moving the dispatch? Is dispatch, originally you talked about separating it, is that going to happen? Or are you still keeping dispatch?
Yeah.
Because I thought there was going to be an extra cost above and beyond the 10. Is that yes, no?
What's been discussed is the possibility of a dispatch study being done in this year. As of right now, our plan includes dispatch in the building that we have.
Okay.
Yes, exactly. So depending on if there is a dispatch study done and any outcomes of that, if the outcome for that would be that we're not going to have dispatch, then we would, obviously the building would be different. But as of right now, leading up to right now, dispatch has been included in our plans.
Okay. I'm sorry I made you talk.
No, it's okay. Okay.
The other question is, I think the one concern is the fact that we've had all these things coming up. We've got, 33 buildings we're looking at that we own in the town? Is that true? Okay. Okay, but we're still looking in across the board of what else might be out there. And just the fact that I think I can say that everybody in this town wants to get the police station. I think that, we're trying to support the fire, police, Public Works. We all want everything. It's just a matter of everybody, the budget committee really looking, the selectmen, I mean, because you represent us, are the people who are paying, and just making sure that, again, as an individual, you don't just go out and do something. You have to have a budget. And you have to say, okay, work as a team. It may be that this year, okay, we really have to do this, but we have to go forward saying we need to set aside money to make sure this happens, that happens. But I'm just saying, as a group, the people, I think because of the times we're going through with the government, tightening their belt, it's trickling down to the towns. The money that would have been coming our way is not going to be coming our way for schools, which are very important. So I think as people in this town are concerned about schools, police, everything, and it's just a matter of how can we make it happen, because they need a better place. We all know that. Everybody wants this to happen, but we also don't want to be taking on things too quickly and then realizing, do we need another piece of property? Can we combine? And we won't be trying to take care of 17 different places, maybe 4 or 5 different places. And I agree with the study of looking to see if we can combine, because it will happen faster. And the water is there and everything else. So that's the only thing, as from my point of view, making sure that, we don't go too fast and we sit back and just say, okay, we need this to happen, but we also only have so much money to go around, and we have to go with the most important and then take care of everything. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, Peter.
Peter Nichols, just quickly. I can't help but use my entrepreneurial thinking. First of all, this is a terrific transparency that you've created here with the boards that have been involved in this, and this is the kind of forum that the town needs to get through this issue. But my entrepreneurial instincts tell me that Sam and his engineering team will be looking to architects and engineers to do some conceptual study of what to do with the DPW site. Use those same engineers and architects to do some basic block diagrams to see if what we know about the police station needs could fit on the site. It doesn't have to be fancy, but just do a quick review. Developers, as my colleague would tell you, have to think quickly. The property's available, they look at it, in about 3 days' time, they figured out whether it's worth looking at further or not. And I would encourage that kind of quick first check to see if we can get there. If not, let's move on. Thank you.
All right, take a vote. All right, thank you. Could I have a motion on whether to continue support of Article 3?
Okay, we move that.
Move to...
To support it, and then we can vote against it.
There you go.
Hey, BB, it might be worth just clarifying to our community members who are here that by you guys, if you do vote to not support it, that doesn't mean that we're not having the meeting on the 14th.
Correct.
The meeting on the 14th is still happening. That is what our citizens voted for in March, so the meeting will still happen. And it is worth every single person still attending.
We want to state our position on Article 3 so that the voters know what it is, but it is up to the voters ultimately to vote the way they want to vote on Article 3. I've talked to Michael Todd about it. A motion will be made to table Article 3. If that motion doesn't pass, then the vote will go forward on Article 3.
So the vote you're looking for now is from the selectmen?
Right.
Just the selectmen on our position on Article 3. That's all it is. So
Okay, let me say it this way.
you say it.
Okay. I move that we pass over Article 3. Do you second that? Okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Go ahead, Phil.
Where does that leave the other warrant article?
We have to pass that.
We have to pass the Article 9. Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
budget.
Which is why everybody should still come on the 14th.
Everybody should still please come to the meeting at Hogan in a new location. We're testing it out, anticipating large town meetings in our future. So Hope to see you all there.
BB, I have one more thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would request that at another time of your choosing, that the Board of Selectmen would entertain a motion to actually set up the crafting of a strategic plan in place. And
it's been heard, Lou, and we'll talk about it at future meetings. And also, I want to offer that I will speak to the Garveys, John and Bruce, about the question of whether we can look at the property in case Article 3 does not pass. Okay? Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Okay. Yes.